Hey all, this is the tutorial that we promised about making normal maps and baking them into your final project. This is the only way I know how to do it that I've seen. If there's a new tool coming out, I'll let you know. But anyway, to do it, we need to start with an empty layer. We can call this, we'll call this height. Like that. Okay. So for it to be the height, we need to make sure everything's turned off but the height. And by default, it's going to start in the middle. But if we turn it up, you'll see with the brush that I have set, it's just going to make a line. And if I turn it down, it's going to make a negative line. And I think, no, X doesn't flip it in this case. So that's how you make them to start with. But there's a lot more control you can have. So if I open up the maps and I come over to, let's say, procedurals, what I get to really, these end up being is stamps. If I want to have a stamp like this, I can put that into my height, uniform color, and this is my brush. Like in Photoshop, this would be the brush, and if I use the stamp, I can make it a little bit bigger, it will stamp that on there. Now you'll notice that even though my stamp was square, it's got a round thing to it. Well, to fix that, we just need to turn off the alpha, because it's the brush alpha that's deciding that stamp gets the round edge. Again, I'm not sure if we're going to really do that, but just to give you a better example of what we could get, I'm going to turn that off. Open this back up real quick, and we'll do beehive or something. And we'll put that, drag that into the height. And we'll turn that back off, and we'll stamp it. Notice that it comes up or down, pushes down when I put it on there. Now the funny thing is, if I change anything, it's going to be the same. It's because it's defined this way. I can't really change the stamp. Okay? So, there's a few other ways to do it, but the important thing is that you understand how this is working. And it's just using black and white, black being inward and white being upward, gray being middle. So in this case, I just want to do some strokes and stuff. So I'm going to come up back to brushes, and I'm going to take basic hard, and turn that off, and then I'm going to decide the size of the brush. And I'm just going to cut in some grooves. I don't really have anything to trace. I might as well turn on the symmetry and see if it makes a difference. I don't think my textures are actually... Yeah, it does. There we go. So I'm going to shrink this down quite a bit more and maybe even change that brush out, actually. I want something a little bit softer. So we're going to go back to the soft, and we'll pull this way down. And we're just going to pretend that this is what we want it to do. So we're going to say click here like in Photoshop, and if I hold shift and I hold control, it'll be a snap and a snap, and in this case I can't hold control because it's going to do the angles, but I'll just do this and then maybe back down to this, and now I've got a normal map. Now it's really deep because that's the settings that I had it to, the deepest you can go. We could pull it back, we could do whatever you want to do. Anyway, the key thing is that I want you to understand is that when you make these normal maps, or when you make these maps, they don't actually, they're just surface detail right now, because most of the stuff we do with like the custom shaders and stuff, if I throw a custom shader on here right now, we'll just do the red paint. Sorry, it's taking long here. I'll throw that on there. It looks like nothing's happened. Well, there's a couple things going on. I could put this above it, and those would start showing up. But let's turn that off for now. So the problem is that this, even without the height map, doesn't have its normals baked in. So I need to bake those normals in. So I'm going to come in here, go like this, and say bake mesh normals, and then we'll just the normal stuff that we do, we're going to say just for this for now. I'm going to bake it out. And there we go. Now it's figured out where the edges are. Now, the problem is if I turn this back on, it's still not using this to calculate it. So for us to get the real features of this map or any of the controls we get inside of Substance, what we really need to do is take this texture and make this part of the normal that is baked out here. Oh, and one thing it could get missed because I was doing this earlier is turn on that normal. Let's try that again. It shouldn't look any different. But this normal needs to be in there because you need to have a base normal to attach this one to. I guess it really doesn't need to because it's just doing it, but we're going to say it does. So you have this base normal, and then you have this on top of it, but it's not actually the one that's calculated when we look at these other ones. So how do we make it calculated? Well, we have to export the normal with our new changes, and then import it back in and overwrite the other one, and then bake it one more time. I know it's a little bit of a dance, but that's the way to do it. So we have to say export textures, and then what we're going to want to do is point where we're going to go again, and we'll do HCC class, 3D Hoth, Snowspeeder, textures, substance, and select that folder. And by default, if we look at what's being exported, it's a bunch of stuff that we did a few minutes ago. We don't want that. What we really want is just the normal. And the best way to get that normal is to make our own. How do we make our own? The right normal that we want out is this normal right here that I found by exporting the standard metallic from Unity 5. But unfortunately, it gives us a bunch of other stuff. So what we have to do is duplicate that one. I'm going to delete this one. We're going to duplicate that one by right-clicking on it, saying duplicate, and now we have a second one. And we're going to double-click on it and call this normal only. And then, if we look inside of here, we know that the normal is the one we want, but we don't want any of the others, so super easy. We just delete the other ones. And I could teach you how to make these, but this is so much faster and easier. So we're going to take this, go to normal only, and this is a 5-minute toot. And we're going to export and make sure only the Snowseeder base is set. It's going to throw it into that texture. Then we're going to open up that texture that we just did. And we're going to say, find that texture we just rendered. And we'll do it by date. So it's this one right here. And we can double click to check it. Yeah. So now we've got that normal built into it. So all we have to do is drag that texture back into our folder. So we drag it in here. And we say we want it to be a texture. We say we want to add it to the twin speeder. Import. And if we go to the project, we will see the Snowspeeder one right there. Okay, so what do we do with it? Well, when we come back to baking, not that one, this one. When we come back to baking, we want to delete this one. We can delete them all if you'd rather. Then we're going to throw this Snowspeeder into the normal position, so it's built in. Then we're going to bake the meshes, and this time we are going to ignore the normal, and we're going to say bake, just this one, and it will bake these new normal set, and all the ambient occlusions and everything are going to be based off of that normal being part of the thing. And there you go. So now that normal is being defined as part of the map, and it's helping create any gruff textures that come with it. So that's it. Build a normal, export it out, and you're done. And then import it back in, and then you're done.